Metro Louisville's moving towards its goal of diverting most materials from the landfill with the new recycling program. We'll show you how that system works and introduce you to some of the first folks to try it out coming up on this episode of Common Ground. Welcome to Common Ground. I'm your host, Angela Futter. Today we're going to talk a little bit about a new innovative recycling program that was launched in the Central Business District back in early 2014. This program, called the WetDry Recycling Program, has proven to be extremely successful in its rate of recovery. This is how the program works. Participating in the WetDry Recycling Program in the Central Business District are a variety of entities: offices, residents, coffee shops, and restaurants. For a food generating business, we ask them to separate all of the food scraps that come from their kitchen or from their coffee shop area. So everything from their coffee grounds to their lettuce to their leftover prep, and then even from the food that is not eaten by their patrons, all goes into the brown bin and it's collected nightly and taken to a compost facility where it's produced into high quality compost that comes back into Jefferson County. They also get an orange bin. In their orange bin, we ask them to separate what we call commercial dry waste products. Everything from plastic bottles, aluminum cans, paper, plates, utensils, anything like that, what would be considered dry waste. Commercial dry waste that's coming from the back of the house goes either in clear bags or loose into the carts. The only thing that we ask these places to separate would be their bathroom waste. And bathroom waste gets collected in black bags. Both the materials in the black bags and clear bags and the loose materials all go into the carts where it's taken to a recycling facility. The black bags are the key at the recycling facility that it gets tossed out as trash. All of the other materials are processed and the recyclables are recovered. In the offices, it's just a little different. Offices and residents, as of right now in the Central Business District, don't have the brown organic cart. All of the materials that they produce are put into the orange carts. The only thing that we ask the offices to do a little bit different is that in addition to their bathroom waste, we also ask them to collect their break room waste in black bags. So any of the little leftover food from lunches or from dinners gets in the black bags in the break room. All of the other materials that are going to be coming from these buildings are going to either go in the clear bags or again loose into the carts. They also get picked up every night and they're taken to the recycling facility where the black bag is the key, that it's trash, and all of the other materials get processed and the recyclables are recovered.
Recycling is important because it helps materials that are used get a second life. The city has a very aggressive goal to achieve 90% landfill diversion by 2042. What that means is that we will take 90% of our waste materials generated to a recycling center or to be reused and repurposed. And that represents a big challenge to the city, but I know that together with the community and the efforts of the leadership, we can do that. The city launched this very innovative recycling program that's called WetDry. Included in the WetDry program is an organics composting program. So we have restaurants in the Central Business District that participate.
You got three? Right this way, please. Matt Mershon, owner, Bistro 301.
This is the blackened fish I'm making right now.
I was glad. I thought it was a little overdue and I was excited about it. There's a slop bucket behind the bar. We have a little one here for like tea and coffee grounds that makes good compost.
That food waste composes about 30% of the waste stream. So getting that material out of, and taking it to a composting facility is beneficial reuse, and it reduces the cost that we spend by taking the materials to the landfill.
Before we had put all the garbage in big black cans and they stunk and they leaked. The program picks up our wet waste and then we get a clean can back. That saves me money from having to have Our kitchen folks scrub out garbage cans, which is nobody's favorite job. Before, we had to use all heavy-duty can liners almost everywhere because you just didn't know what was going to be in anything.
The success of this program has been amazing because we started at 11% and we're already up to 80% in just the last year.
The government saving the business money is a good thing.
We launched the Green Fork Award in January, and what that is we're coming up with a way to recognize the restaurants that participate in the organics composting program. And then we'll give out the award, the first ever award, in January of 2016.
So not just restaurants like Bistro 301 are participating in this. There are a variety of establishments throughout Jefferson County. Everything from theaters to schools to hotels, even Louisville Metro government buildings.
What's your number, baby? 195. I'm here every day.
Jefferson County is trying to find a way, with so many children that we have, to keep as much as we can out of the landfills.
They always say, like, don't put plastic and stuff in there because it goes into the compost and stuff.
When kids are finished eating at Portland Elementary, they head over to this line, where they grab a last sip or bite before doing this. Why?
We recycle the milk cartons and we recycle the plastic so we can reuse it, and we take the food so we can turn it into fertilizer.
It was not a huge transition to model that and show students how to separate.
Even the youngest kids learn the ropes from these girls who come to school early every morning to do this job.
When me and Summer wanted to do this, we asked Ms. Stokes, and now we do it every day. We're reducing our carbon footprint.
When it comes from the kids, it's a little more meaningful than if adults tell them.
Portland Elementary is one of 2 JCPS schools that has the WetDry Recycling program.
It sounds complicated when you start to talk about you need clear trash bags for this versus the black trash bags for this. It's just about getting the systems in place.
If we don't recycle like the cartons and paper and stuff, then we'll have to cut down the trees. The more you cut down trees, it makes global warming.
So even though it can mean early mornings
They'll spill like milk,
and dealing with some messes,
or they'll drop stuff, the plastic.
the school's really starting to see a difference.
Thank you.
When we talked about going from 3 trash dumps a month or a week down to just 2, and we're almost now to the point where we'll do just 1 trash. And that cost balance shifts once you're making more recycling pickups versus trash pickups.
And hopes the rest of JCPS catches on too.
We have to set that tone, be on the forefront of that thinking. What they're doing in our cafeteria for breakfast and lunch sets them in a different mindset for even when we're looking ahead at what we possibly all may be doing in our homes 20 years from now.
Nice job, guys. Make it pretty. We prepare food for over 2,000 inmates 3 times a day, 7 days a week. You got some pasta for me?
Coming right now.
We will get the count from Louisville Metro and start preparing the meals, and 2.5 to 3 hours after we start cooking, we can start serving. We do have an assembly line, 6 to 14 inmates with measured utensils, and they will go down and fill up the tray. Once the food goes up, they have a allotted amount of time to eat the food. They'll go over here to the dish area, and then all the inmates will gather together. They'll grab the carts as they come down. Drop it into the QRS container and bang it to get all the food debris off.
One of the natural fits for this program that we tried it out on is the Metro Jail facility. So it's one way that the city is leading by example and showing that we're participating in keeping a whole lot of compostable food waste from out of the landfill.
The hardest part was actually getting the inmates to separate. They're not fond of it if you separate 2,000 trays and you bang 2,000 trays. Sometimes the sporks would go in, the cups would go in, plastic wrappers would go in, and that can't go in. So that has been the biggest burden, is having the mindset to change, that only food would go in the brown container, all paper, plastic, and everything else would go into the other container. That they had the wherewithal to get rid of the disposables and go with reusables, and then take it even a step further and narrow it down. And now they're recycling paper and cardboard, they're recycling the food byproducts into waste. So that's huge, and I mean that could be a precedent for other facilities out there if they're not already doing it. It's 24/7, a never-ending cycle to make sure that they get to eat and that they have their food. And through that all now, as opposed to filling up the landfills, we're beautifying the city because it's turning into mulch, and that's a win-win.
This is Smith Creek in Greenville, Indiana. We're gonna go and see where all of the yard waste is brought in, and then we'll mix the food waste with the yard waste and other products to get the right ratio. QRS collects the food waste down there. They do an initial sorting at their facility, then all the waste is brought out here to be composted. When food waste comes in, it's covered up right away. Within an hour or so, we're mixing, solidifying it. We'll let that sit. Then we'll mix it again at the end of the day and cover it, and that way we keep vector away. The pile takes 4 to 6 months to process, and we are turning it and watching our temperatures in that pile. We're still having contamination issues in the food waste. We're working with the city and their partners to try to reduce the amount of straws, cups, plastic, Coke cans that get into the compost. When it's in a pile, it's hard for us to tell, so we have to rely on the people that are putting in there to get it right away, because we can't tell when it's mixed in already. Even if we can tell, there's no way for us to get it back out. It's got to go to the landfill if it's too contaminated at that point. Since January 1st, when they implemented the plastic ban bag, the city has brought between 4,000 and 5,000 tons so far this year to compost. We are having some issues with people hiding things in the paper bags. They use some of the same trucks to pick up yard waste as they do garbage waste. And if the driver does not inspect his truck thoroughly, then we get garbage at the end of the load when he walks off. The yard waste is much cleaner than the food waste. We have changed that blend or that carbon that we're mixing with the compost now to use what the city is bringing or providing to us. The compost will change throughout the year depending on how much leaves in it versus grass versus brush. We watch the moisture content, so depending on how the moisture contents move, we will raise the carbon ratio or lower the carbon ratio with the moistures. That's the advantage of us, is we have significant portions of other materials that we can mix when needed to be. Once it's done, we'll process it. We'll put it in a curing pile before it's shipped out to a customer or supplier. This lot here stores all of the soils, compost, and soil amendments, along with mulches, colored and hardwoods. It's very seasonal, so it takes a lot of property to be able to hold it for the 3-month window that most people are buying mulches and soils. So we're delivering directly to the retailer or the big box store, and then customers pick up from there.
Even if you're not part of the Central Business District or already involved in a wet-dry recycling program, you can still help make our city more sustainable by starting a recycling program at your establishment. All you need to do is call Metro Call at 311 to request the bin or a cart and start sitting out your recyclables tonight. Like the pilot that was launched in the Central Business District, Metro will soon be launching a residential pilot also. So residents will be receiving brown carts where they'll be asked to put their food scraps in yard waste. They'll also be getting orange carts that will replace their traditional black trash carts, where they'll be asked to put the rest of their waste. All of their recyclables will either be in clear or loose in the carts, and then we ask that pet waste, diapers, bathroom waste, what is actually traditional trash, be put in black bags. Everything will be collected once a week on their regular trash day. Thanks so much for joining us on this episode of Common Ground. And remember, Metro, stop, think, reduce, reuse, recycle.